Hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I almost said that's just gamer talk. That's not what this is.
Dude,
Even though it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah. Dude, I'm not sure how you sync up that audio and video like that. Even with hand clap, I tried doing that recently, and it is just so hard.
It's not that bad. I don't know. It's like you just have to do it right at the beginning, and then basically it's like you'll have like little smidgets where it's like maybe a half second off, and you just kind of got to cut it and just push it just ever so slightly, but it's really not that big of a deal. So, yeah, I'm Andrew. Over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How you doing?
I've been doing good. Today was a weird day. I was driving to work, and basically the entire roads around my place of work are all closed.
What's going on?
There's so much construction going on, and there was a big accident, I guess, on Monday on 14 over there that caused like roads to be closed or whatever. I don't know what the hell happened.
I was gonna say, what is this big accident that shut all those roads down?
I don't know. I mean, there's only like 2 roads, but instead I have to go back behind a Costco through like all the business roads back there to get to work today, and I was just like, okay, I didn't know that was happening. That was fun, and I ended up being 10 minutes late, so that was fun.
Well, I'm sure they understand their reasoning. Like, you didn't know that road was going to be closed.
Oh yeah, they were just like, I was like, I had no idea. Well, one is like this road's closed for construction. I came by here on like Sunday or whatever, and it was open. I came by on Monday, it was open.
Came by today, it was not.
It was not. I drove in it like 5 a.m, and it was just like, what the fuck. I don't know. That road's been under construction for so long. This is going to be old man me right now coming out. Is that all this construction is just getting in the way? No, but it's like, it's just annoying how long this construction's been going on.
I mean, that's just Madison, though. Where
I feel like that's just every big city, though. I feel like every big city, everyone always complains about just like road construction being a thing like all the time, and it's like, oh.
I guess so, though, but just living in Madison, it always feels like every major road, every one I use is always under construction for something. As long as it'll be like one half of this road that I need to use one week, and then the next week it'll be this entire part of the road is shut down. And then farther down the road, up the road, it's going to be shut down. I was out shopping today, and I had to... I don't even know what the fuck they were doing, but I had to maneuver around these trucks in order to get to my turnoff. It was so fucking annoying.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just crazy. It was like, I've always said, it was like, it's not the construction that's the problem. It's the how long it takes for all the construction. It's like they have so many different projects going on all around Madison all the time that I'm sitting here going just like, how does any of this get done? Like, they've been redoing the road by one of the mounds I go to pick up some stuff from my dog Jasmine, and like that road has been doing remodeling basically for like 2 years now, and I go, is this ever gonna get done? That road was closed off entirely for a while there.
Dude, no, it's like they said in that one that one Royster Teeth podcast. Everything is going to be under construction
all the time.
Forever.
Yep.
Until the end of time, basically.
Yep. Especially in Wisconsin, too, is just like because of like the changing seasons, roads just deteriorate a lot faster. Sucks. And we still refuse to put in toll roads on things or whatever, but you know. But our taxes will be lower if we do so. Yeah, but you're paying that for the tolls. What if you don't go on the Beltline and stuff? That doesn't really matter.
Dude, paying the tolls is so fucking annoying. When I was going to Cedar Point, it kept redirecting me to the toll roads because it's like, you save 15 minutes. I'm spending like $30 to drive on this road though. It was such bullshit.
Yeah. Isn't there ways to turn off like avoid tolls or anything like that on like
I
Google or
did.
something?
I kept doing that, and then it would just randomly redirect me back to the toll roads.
Yeah.
So, it's like it was Illinois that I was driving through, where eventually I couldn't get it to just go back to the regular like non-toll roads, and it was like, fine, I'll just pay the fee then. I guess who cares, whatever.
Anyway, though, that was the old man segment of the podcast. Don't worry about it.
No, I think it's super funny too, though, because one of the last books I read, I'm not sure if I ever told you about this, was a book called Insomnia, right? And the biggest criticism that a lot of people have of that book is, and it's mine as well, where a lot of it is just like old people continuously complaining about being old. And I was like, I do that enough in my real life. I don't need to read about it in a book.
The whole point of books and stuff like that is to get away from the real world, not get closer to it.
It's really funny, though, because it was like, man, I'm so old. I don't understand kids nowadays. It always hurts getting up in the morning. I keep getting up earlier and earlier, and I fucking hate it. All this food just doesn't taste good anymore, and it's like, God damn it. I hate relating to this character that's canonically like 65. I'm not even 30.
Yeah. It was like I was telling Billy on a Monday or whatever. I was like after our first like disc golf session before we got to Elver on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like I was just like, man. I was like I'm remembering to myself like how strenuous like pitching can like flicking your arm like that can be on your shoulder specifically, because I was feeling it in my shoulder on that first round.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I didn't stretch enough. It's like, yep. It's like, enjoy it while it lasts, boys, because sooner or later,
it goes.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to do that stretching, because if you don't, it's gonna hurt. It was like Billy still walks up and he's like, I don't need to stretch or whatever. He takes out his first disc, throws it, and he's like perfectly fine. And I'm like, I remember those days. Those days were so good. I used to do that in pitching too. And that's what partially fucked up my arm so much, is that I didn't warm up enough when I was going full bore. Used to just pick up a baseball, throw it like 60 miles an hour or something like that, and then I go, ow, my shoulder hurts. Yeah, if you stretch out the shoulder a little bit, that wouldn't happen. So note to anyone that's approaching the age of like 30, stretch if you're doing anything physically strenuous.
Stretch, do yoga, exercise. You'll thank yourself for
your
it.
body will thank you in the long run.
Yeah, you don't realize how much you need it until you really need it. So just try and avoid getting to that point.
Yep, absolutely. All right, on to the topics that I actually wanted to talk about, though.
You have topics to talk about?
Sort of.
I was just going to talk about... Okay.
Sort of. I just found a few things that whatever. Apparently, I was just looking on fucking like PC Gamer or whatever just for some stuff, and I saw this one thing about apparently Valkyrie is making a cameo in the Minecraft movie, and I go, Valkyrie, isn't that the streamer that's known for streaming Valorant? Does she stream Minecraft?
I mean, I don't think there are any like dedicated... I think we talked about this last week, where there are not any like dedicated Minecraft streamers anymore. So I think they're just like, oh, you're a streamer? Want to be in our film?
I understand that, and I don't doubt you're right, but I said they're going just like, but again, isn't Valkyrie known for Valorant? Like I thought that's the main game she streams, but I mean I don't know, I could be wrong. I
have no idea.
So
I don't watch too many streamers anymore, and I especially don't watch anything related to Valorant.
Fair enough. But I don't know. I was reading this thing. I was like, she was talking about how it's like, oh, Jason Momoa was a real asshole on set or whatever, and I was just like, and it was just like, oh, she was like saying it was like after this really big emotional scene or whatever, he got really mad at like the camera people or whatever, and reading, and I was like, and it's
He's
like,
mad because he has to be in the Minecraft movie. And
I think
can't be
I think
Aquaman.
that's honestly what I thought about to myself. It's like, I think he's mad that one, he agreed to be in the Minecraft movie, or it was like, also there's apparently an emotional scene in a Minecraft movie. What?
It's probably going to be something really, like one of those like really stupid, sappy scenes you get in most children's movies. It's like they had, I guess, heartwarming scenes in like the movie Sing too, but that movie's a giant piece of shit.
Yeah, but the one thing I want to point out, and I was like, I'm not saying Jason Momoa is, a good guy or bad guy. Honestly, I don't really know much about him or anything like that at all. But as somebody who's kind of worked in the production scene before, it's like, when you're the people that are behind the camera, you're the one that, getting the shots and everything like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes then the actors have that one time where like this one really important scene happens, and if you don't get it, or you turn off the cameras, or you stop recording in any moment, and they lose it, and you lose it, and the actor put on one of his best performances of all time, and you missed it because you decided to turn off the camera early, he's going to be mad at you. This is something I don't think that a lot of people understand when it comes to making productions and stuff. And there's a reason why there's the idea of never stop filming. Like, always, never turn off the camera, never point away, even if you think you have it or whatever. You never know what could happen, type thing. That type of stuff, right? Unless the director tells you to cut, don't turn off the camera. Keep it on screen. Keep the actor, whatever the subject is, in frame and at all times. So, it's like, maybe it was something related to that. I don't know, but I just think that there's just a lot of people who don't understand when it comes to productions, and sometimes when it calls for shots of like a specific, like, acting or whatever, can be, you lose that and you go, I'm never going to do that again. And now you're just frustrated because now the actor's just frustrated, and he's like, yeah, I'm never just going to have that moment. So I'm pissed off.
I mean, just outside of that, production in general is really just stressful on everybody.
It is.
You look into the behind the scenes of basically anything, and it's a, really difficult and just like grading process. It's like, even in the best case scenarios, you're going to have at least a couple outbursts.
Yeah, it's long days that are high stress and are very exhausting. By the time you come home after a 12-hour day, you're going to be like, you're going to plop down in your bed, and then you're going to wake up like 10 hours later, and you go, or 6, not even that, 10 hours, fuck. We're going to wake up in like 4 hours and have to do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
especially for shooting movies. It's like, that's why sometimes it drives people mad, and it's really what determines whether or not you can actually do it or not.
So I think this is just one of those outside looking in situations. It's like, another thing I think, like, if most people saw, it's like, people watched the show The Bear, and they were just like genuinely shocked with like how stressful things get in the kitchen, and I bet most people think it's like, there's no way it's actually like that in most kitchens, right? And it's like, no. Working as a cook is really, really, really stressful.
When there's orders basically flying all around, it gets stressful, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when speed is of the really important.
And it's one of those things like where if people actually went in and saw what it's like for themselves, they would be really taken aback with how.
And they'd be more patient.
Yeah, and it's easy to look at situations like this being like, what's wrong with him? Was so-and-so being such an asshole?
Yeah, why is he being so mean to them or whatever?
When you just really don't understand the type of situation that they're in.
Yeah, it's just like, obviously you don't want to be mad at like a crew member or anything like that. I'm sure Jason Momoa is about the same way. I, again, don't know anything about the guy really, but and I'm not trying to defend or accuse him of anything, but it's like, I guarantee he probably doesn't want to do that, but he, like I said, something could have happened and a shot was lost or something like that because they didn't stick on him. And he's like, I'm never going to do that again. And you just got to take that as an L and move on. So, yeah, like you said, and like that, high stress and everything like that, it's just like the outbursts are going to happen. And at the end of the day, you got to go, hey, sorry I got so mad at you type thing. And you move on. It's, it's why when I was starting on like in production classes and whatever in college, they always said this job you're gonna have to do a real good job at developing a thick skin because people are gonna say stuff that they don't necessarily mean, but it's gonna hurt at the moment.
Got to learn to move on.
You got to learn to kind of not so much forgive and forget, but just like kind of forget in that moment, and then hopefully you either go up to the person or they come up to you and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry," type thing. It's just how it is.
Are sometimes, yeah.
It's just how it is. So yeah, I think this is like you said, it's like an outsider looking in or whatever. I can't imagine Valkyrie's been in many production situations before that she's seen something like this, especially at the level that, like movie-wise and anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's easy to make like YouTube videos and stuff like that of you just streaming video games, but when you actually have to do like acting and everything like that, it's a little bit different. I don't know. I just saw that, and I'm just like, I was just like, man, I really think that not enough people take that into account because, like you said, like we said with the like the kitchen analogy, it was just like, again, not enough people know that, but it can be what it's like. Also, I was like, while we're on the subject of movies, did you know there's a Watch Dogs movie that's apparently finished filming?
I found that out just recently.
What the fuck? I did not know this was a thing.
No. I think that's awesome, though. I think Watch Dogs can make a really good, like, easy transition into a movie.
Oh, absolutely it could. I think that they're probably going to go with the Watch Dogs 2, like, storyline if they do, because the first one was fine, but it's like, I don't feel like that would be the one that Ubisoft would want to make.
Well, I think they're going to adapt a story that's, like, completely outside of, like, the games and just...
I was talking
like,
more of, like, the
them.
feel of it, whereas Watch Dogs 2 feels more...
Yeah.
Like,
do the whole Watch Dogs 2, Watch Dogs Legion type thing, as opposed to the Watch Dogs 1, where where they clearly try to take themselves too seriously.
It felt like kind of like they saw like somebody watched like John Wick, and then they said, "Oh, we could do that, but in a hacker movie." And they go, "Nah, we don't need to do that." I just saw this. I just saw this wrapped up filming, and I went, "What? When was this a thing? I didn't hear this." Ugh. See if it's any better than the Borderlands movie. Stays in theaters for more than 2 weeks.
I would say maybe, but at the exact same time, Ubisoft made the Assassin's Creed movie, so kind of anything's on the table.
That is true.
I can't imagine it's that the Borderlands movie was any worse than the Assassin's Creed movie, because I absolutely despised Assassin's Creed.
See, I never watched Assassin's Creed. I feel like for myself, I need to watch the Assassin's Creed movie just to see how bad it was. Like that's all I want. Is there any way? Is there anywhere I can watch that?
Let's see if it's on a streaming service or something. It's on Tubi. You can watch it for free. Dude, Tubi has some good movies on it. I did not know that it had Dark Side of Dimensions on there. And like The Fifth Element? Dog.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Damn, I haven't watched Dark Side of Dimensions since it was out in the theaters, right?
Yeah, that was a good movie, though.
It was a good movie, even if it was all just nostalgia pandering.
I mean, that's
Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's basically all they wanted it to be, effectively.
I mean, realistically, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh consistently, like, is just like, hey, you remember the original series, guys? Hey, guess what? We got a new movie. Okay.
Sure.
Well, I just remember the Dark Side of Dimensions. That was the cubic monsters were introduced, right?
Yeah. That's when I got back into playing. And that's when I think it's funny that they'll make stuff like that and then just for their movies and then just immediately make shit like Arc V and whatever the other fucking series are called, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens or whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah, don't remind me about Sevens. Do you think we'll ever get like another good anime adaptation for Yu-Gi-Oh? Like ever? Like Vrains was good. I liked Vrains.
I thought Vrains was gonna be that.
Vrains honestly was good. The first half I thought was really good. The second half was a little weak, but it was fine.
I don't think we'll ever get an anime that reaches the heights of the original series.
Absolutely not. Like
No.
5Ds or 5Ds and GX and like the original were like that. Those were the shit. So they were so good. They were so good. Even if
holy
5Ds was
trilogy
just
of
riding
that.
around on motorcycles.
Yeah, but it was so funny.
It was so cool though. If you're like 13 years old or whatever watching that, you're thinking it's the coolest shit ever.
Dude, I really wish. For 5Ds, I always am. So I'm almost more familiar with the parody version of 5Ds. So every time I watch it for legitimately, I keep thinking Jack's voice is just going to be that "You say."
Right.
Have you ever watched any of those YouTube videos?
I think I've watched the abridged for the original series. I've never done it for any of the other ones.
Dude, Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge for 5Ds is so fucking good.
I believe it. Those are always so funny and creative. So
Yeah.
I'm not shocked by that one. Maybe one day, maybe Yu-Gi-Oh will get their shit together.
Maybe.
Doubtful,
One can
but
only hope.
we're gonna hope. I remember like around the time of like Sevens was announced, they were talking about how there might be like a I don't know if it was supposed to be like a remake or an additions to the like original series, and everyone was like super hyped for that, and I was just like, I don't know if that's never come around again. I don't think.
No.
Damn, it'd be something though, especially if you could get like the voice actors to reprise the roles, or at least some of them too. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, granted that they got most of them to do like Dark Side of Dimensions, didn't they?
Like the original voice actors? Yeah, I think most of them came back.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't think they had ever come around for another like rerun of the series, though. I think
No,
they're kind of
probably
done with
not.
those roles.
Yeah,
Maybe like another movie or something.
Yeah, like a one-off movie type thing. I could see that happening, but a whole nother series probably not gonna happen.
No.
I will say that the Dark Side Dimensions had one of my favorite lines from Kaiba or whatever, where like right at the end when he like sacrifices himself to save Yugi or whatever, and he goes, "For him, the Pharaoh." It was a really good delivery though.
Dude, Kaiba, just in general, has so many memorable lines, though. It's like, if at first you don't succeed, blast them with your blue eyes again.
Exactly. Or my favorite of only Kaiba would have a laugh maniacally while flying off in a blue eyes white dragon jet.
If there are intelligent species out there, then let's show them how to duel.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite
He's
lines
such
too.
a fucking dork.
This
My
man
God.
is so fucking smart, so fucking intelligent. He could fix all the world's problems, but he's so obsessed over a children's card game and beating one little kid in a children's card game that he is so obsessed that he's willing to invent a time machine, go back in time with no guarantee of coming back, just to prove a point.
To himself, too. Nobody else.
No
one gives a shit.
No one else gives two shits.
I kind of want to see that conversation once he gets there.
Oh, man.
It's like, I challenge you to a card game. I have to defeat you.
Well, I
and the
can
Pharaoh is like,
You go back in time to ancient Egypt. You walk up in all this technology or whatever. You activate your dual disc, and everyone's going there. What the fuck is going on? And the Pharaoh just looks over and is like, "Ah, yes, I knew this day was coming. Of course, Kaiba would come back from the future."
No, I really want that conversation to go like is like he goes there and it's like, I challenge you to a duel, and he's like, what? No, who the fuck are you?
A
Get
shadow
out
game.
here, bitch. Proceeds to still lose anyway.
Yeah, proceeds to lose 2 stone tablets, and he goes, "No, it can't be possible." Oh man. Yeah, I think they really should expand upon what happened to Kaiba after he went back in time.
He just grumpily goes back to the future. Mokuba is like, so how'd it go? I fucking lost!
I fucking lost. I still lost! Son of a bitch! How'd he do it?
He calls Yugi at like 3 a.m. sobbing. How did you do it? How did you beat him?
Yeah, it's like, how did you do it? Come on, tell me, teach me your ways. Oh, man.
He's a multi-billionaire crying to a teenager like, without this, I have nothing. I need to be the best.
Meanwhile, Yugi's like sitting in his grandpa's card shop and just like going, ah, yes, this ripped up Blue Eyes White Dragon. I remember this.
Kaiba calling him at all hours of the night to complain. Just fucking... this guy again.
It's like this. I should just block him at this point, but it's Seto Kaiba. I can't really do that because he'll hack the system and find ways to do other things and make my life miserable.
He'll buy my cell carrier and then block him himself.
He'll keep sending phones to him, and then with the only way of calling him is like that. It's the only number I can reach to. What if we just rehash like now Kaiba's just like Maximilian Pegasus, where he just kidnaps Yugi's grandpa again?
Yeah.
It could happen.
I don't have any friends, Yugi. This is all I have to do.
I'd be very curious to see what would the rest of Kaiba's life was going to be like. Anyway.
He sits out on a beach with like the most expensive bottle of vodka of all time. Yep. Just thinking all the time about the Pharaoh, like, that motherfucker.
Yeah, and I never got to beat him ever again. Son of a bitch. He left without beating me just one last time. All right. Well, moving past the bullshit Yu-Gi-Oh talk. So, have you heard of the game called Deadlock, by the way?
Yeah. No, I've actually really wanted to try it.
Yeah, honestly, I've thought about it too. But I was like, apparently it doesn't have an anti-cheat, is what I'm reading here.
Well, let's be completely frank here. It's not open to the public by any means.
It's true.
It's an invite-only program. It's not through Twitch drops or any of that bullshit. It's not like Valorant or whatever. It is exclusively people that Valve is, sending game codes to. So they're probably not expecting any sort of anti-cheat. I'm sure once the game actually comes out, they'll give it like easy anti-cheat or something like that. Or one of those like generic brands. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I just find it interesting because I'm reading this report about how like people like on the Discord, on like a Discord channel or whatever, they're saying, hey, report anyone that's cheating. And it's like, oh, so there's enough outrage by people that are invite only that are cheating.
Jesus.
In Deadlock when it's an invite only.
That game is still pretty far from an open beta.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I don't think there's even like a solid release date for Deadlock yet.
Probably not, but I just thought it was interesting because it was like I was watching people play it and I was just like, yeah, this reminds me of it's basically just like a mix of like hero shooter with like, or did you ever play like it was an old Epic Games game before they even opened their storefront called Paragon?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I played Paragon for a little while. It was fun.
Nice.
Just never had the player base because it was, competing against League of Legends. So it was like League of Legends and like Smite, and it was just like, yeah, those were kind of the two big ones, and they've fallen off a little bit, but it just didn't do a whole enough different or whatever. And it's like basically this is just like, oh, this is like Overwatch meets MOBA, basically is pretty much what they call it.
So it's Battleborn.
In a way.
Effectively, yeah.
Effectively.
I think the only reason it's getting as much attention as it is because it's made by Valve.
Exactly. Yeah, I just thought it was just like, oh, this doesn't have any anti-cheat? What the fuck is up with that?
it'll get anti-cheetah eventually. It's just still in development, basically. Like, I think what they put out is basically still an alpha,
Yeah.
just to test some shit.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if, like, when it actually does come out, like, will it stick around and will it actually rival? And will Valve do the classic thing like they've done with a lot of their like multiplayer games or whatever, where they just support it for a little while and then eventually it loses traction and then they just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Dota Underworlds, or what was that other card game that they had for a while there? Artifact was it called?
Yeah, it was Artifact. It was the Dota card game that died pretty quickly, and it got a bunch of people super mad. And it got a bunch of people super mad because everyone thought it was Half-Life 3 for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think until Valve decides that we're actually going to do Half-Life 3, it's like, I feel like that's just when you leave projects a secret or whatever, and you go, oh, some of the bigs are around the corner, and everyone's like, Half-Life 3? And then they go, no, it's this card game. And I go, you bastards.
I mean, Half-Life 3 is a big one. They can get away with never making a Portal 3 or a Left 4 Dead 3 or a Team Fortress 3, but people are always going to haggle them for a Half-Life 3 because they never wrote a conclusion to that story.
Yep.
There's so many unanswered questions in the Half-Life universe that Valve is just refusing to answer, and it's so frustrating.
Valve not wanting to answer questions? What?
You think they're trying to edge people? Like, people just stick with Valve not because they have a good PC platform, but because the hope that Half-Life 3 will eventually appear is always just kind of sitting there.
Do you think that they're waiting for the longest time where, like, the old people that grew up playing Half-Life and Half-Life 2 will just be, like, either uninterested in gaming at that point or basically dead, and they go, all right, now we're making Half-Life 3. And then all the young kids go, what the hell is Half-Life? Oh, and while we're also making Half-Life 3, here's remaked versions of Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. You motherfuckers.
I mean, how old is fucking Gabe Newell?
Who not? I have no idea. Every time I see a picture of him, he looks like he's like 65 to me.
Close, he's 61.
Wow, I was close.
I was gonna say we're kind of getting to that point where.
No, we're not waiting for Gabe Newell. Gabe Newell's how much? Okay?
Gabe Newell made Half-Life. He has to make the third one. What?
That's what is this the long play of Gabe? Is that that Half-Life 3 has already been made and they just like, it's like super under wraps and everything like that. They're just waiting for just the right moment to release it. Like, what if it's a game that's already been made? It's been made for years, and they just like said, we're gonna sit on this. This is gonna be like our like big treasure in the end or whatever like that. It's the greatest kept secret in the history of the world that we've had Half-Life 3 done for like 10 years now.
I feel like they'd have too much trouble keeping that secret. I legitimately think that if that was a thing, it would have come out by now.
Yeah, you're right.
But
I could just imagine like Gabe Newell just sitting on like a floppy disk that has like that has Half-Life 3 on it or whatever, and he goes, "This is my treasure. I'm the dragon."
he made Half-Life 3 by himself like
exactly.
a year after Half-Life 2.
And it's on a floppy disk.
And it's on a fucking floppy disk of all things. And he's just kind of sitting on it.
Yep. Absolutely, 100%. What a world that would be if that's 100% true, which it's not. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
If Half-Life 3 existed, we'd have our hands on it by now.
I mean, it's like we said, if they ever decided to make Half-Life 3, it's an instant success and probably wins Game of the Year regardless, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be one of the highest grossing video games of all time, basically, instantly. Unless they make it like a fucking VR title or something, which... Dude, people would be so pissed. Being like, God, I want to play Half-Life 3, but I don't want to buy a Valve Index. God damn
I mean,
it.
I thought that's what Half-Life Alyx was basically. It was just
I
like
mean,
people
yeah,
wanted
but
to play
that's not-
Half-Life Alyx, but it was like, oh, it's only VR only. Fuck, now I gotta buy a Valve Index.
Basically, yeah.
And yet they got away with that.
They got away with it. Like, no, I'm saying people would still buy it.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
would. They would just not like that they had to buy a Valve Index for it, basically.
I always liked how it was just like, I remember saying this. It was like when Half-Life Alyx was coming out, but it was just like, is this like the start of that? Oh, Valve is gonna make a bunch of VR titles going forward, and they've made basically none. Since
No,
Alyx.
they wanted the one that'll push their VR headset, and then they're just going to do nothing else because
Uh-huh.
there's no incentive to do anything else.
Yeah. Why
That's
would
like-
there be?
It's like, well, we need something to sell this VR headset of ours, otherwise people are just going to go for the cheaper competition. Well, let's just connect a Half-Life game to it. That'll sell it.
Yeah.
We don't want to do anything else with it? No.
No, we'll let
cares?
other developers have their time or whatever, and then I feel like I've never heard of another VR title, like specifically VR title that had the kind of pull that like
Alex did?
Alex had.
No, there just isn't any.
That's why I was just like, I was like, if there was ever like people that were interested in actually wanting to, like make VR titles, like that was the time to do it because people were buying Valve Index specifically to play it, so people already had the system. So they're like, oh, I was like, I'm playing Half-Life Alyx. Well, what else is there for VR now that I have it? And they look and they see, oh, fucking nothing. All right, let's go.
I mean, Valve still invested more in their VR headset than PlayStation ended up doing.
Oh, I know they did, but I'm just saying it's like,
I can't believe they put out PSVR 2 and did next to nothing with it.
are we truly surprised at that though?
Yes,
Really? Because
I
I was like, when we have so many examples to look it back at with the PSP and the PS Vista and everything.
you
like
think
that.
they would have learned their lesson by now?
No, clearly not, and people clearly haven't learned that either.
Oh my fucking god, dude!
That's what I'm saying. It was like, oh, this PSVR 2. Hey, guess what? Also has not been a thing within. It's like, well, they've shown off some VR games. Yeah, not really.
No, they have not. the only one I think they've actually ever made was that one like Horizon game that you can beat in like 4 hours or something like that.
This is why I say it's just like I don't like. I feel like all these like companies like Sony and like Valve that they like make this one game in an effort to get people to buy VR stuff, and then they expect like other studios to then follow up with it. Like that's what it feels like, right? Like they make like one or two big games. They make the VR headsets, and then they go, all right, we did our part. Everyone else jump in so that way people aren't pissed about this. And then once you succeed, we'll come back and make more games. But if you don't succeed, then we just made the one good one.
Well, they should have known that wasn't going to work because, VR is such a risky investment. There's just, despite Half-Life Alyx, which isn't on PSVR, it's like, what other, like, enticing VR titles are there? There's like, maybe a handful, but not for like a $300 headset. You're not going to buy that.
Yeah.
Who the hell would? It's like, and with Sony, they have the shittiest track record with doing bullshit like this. I still remember the Vita. I enjoyed my Vita. I still have it technically, but the thing was horribly. Yeah, they have It had. I still remember. You had to buy specific SD cards for the PS Vita that were super overpriced just to play anything on it. They did not support it for very long, and because developing on it was so awkward, no other companies wanted to invest into it. I don't even...
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah. I wonder if they ever do, if the Sony ever does try and like them make their own like handheld type game console that isn't that stupid controller thing.
Yeah, like if a legit one.
Maybe if Xbox does well enough.
Yeah, I think that's
put
really
out
what
a
it comes
half-assed
down
thing
to
like
is that's what it would be. It was like that. It wouldn't just be like, oh, it's like we'll make one and then we just won't support it because we got people to pay for it and that's fine. And it's like, no, you should really make more, because wouldn't it be nice to then make other things for this as well? No.
Give more people more of a reason to buy this thing.
What? Or we could just make more. We could make the PlayStation Pro and make so much money off of that. And I'm gonna go, fuck you.
Can I get into something I've been kind of meaning to rant about for a little while?
Yeah, go for it, my guy.
So more details came out recently about what happened in the behind the scenes of Inside Out 2. And it is really, really disgusting just how terribly Disney treated the people over at Pixar when it came to that movie. So I was already upset when I heard that a bunch of layoffs happened over there. I was even more upset when another article came out saying they contacted a lot of these previous employees and said, you need to come back and gather your things because it's making the other employees here, the ones we didn't fire, still upset because you're not there anymore. It's like, go fucking figure. Some details came out. Apparently, none of these people, despite relying on this bonus that they get with Pixar, was never paid for the bonus because they technically the movie technically came out after they were laid off, and they were all laid off like the week before the movie came out, essentially, so they could avoid paying these people their bonuses. They immediately cut all their health insurance. Apparently, these animators who were already getting underpaid still had to work like 7 days a week, like over 60 hours a week, like day and night, extreme crunch apparently. It's just depressing, man. And when you pair with that with just like how low of a budget the film had as is, combined to the huge investments Disney's putting in everywhere else, like super frivolously.
Yeah.
It makes me so fucking mad, dude. I hate it. I hate. That movie made that company so much money. Their animation division, like, has been reliably doing wonders for Disney for years. Tons of awards. They have the best talent in the industry. They always make so much money, just not even like just from like box office or like the revenue I get. I'm thinking they get just from Disney Plus, but just like from merchandising. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
And to be treating these people this terribly.
Yep.
No, but we need to be sending Robert Downey Jr. $80 million to fucking play Doctor Doom in an Avengers movie. That'll be lucky.
Be ass.
It'll probably be ass. I don't think it's going to make as much money as Inside Out 2 either.
How much money did it? Like, it was like 200 some million that it made? Like from its box office?
What, Inside Out 2?
Yeah.
1.6 billion.
Holy shit. Okay, way more than I thought.
From the film's box office. Yeah, it's the highest grossing animated film of all time. It did better than their Lion King remake.
Oh, the Lion King remake was ass.
It was ass, but it made a fuck ton of money.
That's true.
It also generated more revenue than, I think, 2 of the Avengers movies.
Really? That's like more, the early Avenger movies, probably?
It was more than the both the original Avengers and Age of Ultron, is what I read.
Well, the original Avengers makes sense. Well, does it though? Because I feel like that's when like the hype was like really real for an Avengers movie.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking big.
Yeah, that's why I was just like, I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, the first one would make sense. I'm like, well, actually, probably not. Huh? That's interesting.
No,
okay.
It's crazy how much money that movie made. And the people that worked on that masterpiece that made that much money gets treated like this. They can't even get paid paid the bonuses that they rely on to feed their families.
Yeah.
Now they're stuck in California of all places, without a job or with any consistent. And imagine how the animators that are still there must feel.
Not good.
Like coming into work every day, just knowing they have no job security whatsoever.
It's like, what was the? There was like the quote from I think it was Oppenheimer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were talking about it. It's like, oh, we created this thing and then we get none of the recognition or anything like that for it. And I feel like that's like anyone that creates content that's not their own. In retrospect to me, and especially like hearing the stuff from Inside Out too, it's like that quote could not be more true. But yeah, it's like you're absolutely right. It's like Pixar puts out some of the best animated films in like for a very long time now. So to see it's like animators get treated like shit is just.
I mean, in all aspects of that movie too. I told you about how one of the voice actors from the original movie wouldn't come back because Disney wasn't willing to offer more than like $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy, dude.
Yep. What was like there was like something I saw not long ago that like I can't remember what it was. It was like some like game like offered money to like some like artist or something like that to like have a cameo in it, but it was like an absurdly low amount of money or whatever. So he said "fuck off" or something like that. I don't remember what that was.
I think it was Grand Theft Auto 6.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's what it was.
They offered this band like $7,000 to use their song or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like you're gonna sell this game for over a decade. It's gonna generate tens, if not hundreds, of billions of dollars. And you're paying us only
$7,000, and you're gonna make billions upon billions of dollars with this. And fuck off.
Fuck off, dude. Seriously.
It's like you really think you could get away with that? You didn't think we would know?
Like how big Grand Theft Auto is?
Good lord.
So sorry. I just really needed to get that off my chest because that's just been. It's just been like bugging me for days now.
It's fair.
The whole animation industry is just fucked at the moment.
I feel like that's just like a lot of like creative stuff in general, like when it comes to whether it's movies, video games, or whatever. Like it's just like you are super underappreciated and are disposable in an instant. Like the instant the game comes out, instant that the movie comes out, gone, done. Pack your bags, you're leaving.
It's an industry-wide problem, and animators and voice actors are still trying to unionize because.
I mean, it's pretty obvious the AI stuff.
Yeah, they have basically no rights and no protections as employees.
Yeah, and then instantly like, oh AI can then just replicate your voice so that way you're just never needed ever again for any like sequels or anything like that. And it's like, no, that's not what we signed up for. That's not how this should work.
The fact that AI still has no like government regulation still is just shocking to me.
It doesn't really surprise me considering you look at the political turmoil that is the United States, and there's only going to be one country that's really going to do anything because it's the country that does the most with entertainment of the United States. So it doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah.
That's always the thing. It's like, in theory, the European Union could do something, but I feel like that's not as big of an issue considering a majority of the stuff that is created with the mega corporations and stuff like that are all AIs, are based in the United States. So
it's a big issue.
Yeah. It's a big issue that, hey, guess what? Nobody's looking at, and nobody will continue to look at until it's a problem, because that's just how the world works. Not to mention, we're going to have a whole repeat of 2016 with the election. I don't want to get into that right now. I have things I want to say about it, but I'm not going to say it.
Not for this episode.
Not this time. I'm not ready for that conversation. It's just that basically what I'm gonna leave it at is we've seen this before, you know.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm gonna leave it at. Anyway. But yeah, it's like getting back to what we were talking about though. It's just like this is the reason why like I feel like a lot of people have stopped wanting to, go into big studios or whatever when it comes to like video games to like develop for, AAA games or whatever. Like people are now working tirelessly, it feels like, to create their own companies so that way they can create their own games on their own time.
Well, that way they just have more job security too.
Exactly,
like
and they
with
can
a
make
lot
what
of-
they want with few restrictions. So it feels like it's like all you're restricted by is how much money and how much time you want to put into this, basically. And it's like, can you, financially keep yourself afloat while doing this, and then make enough back when you do it? And that's always the challenge of indie games when there's thousands of games coming out basically constantly. It's like you can get lost in the crowd real hard, real fast.
I mean, if you're one of the lucky ones, you can get like some media attention, like
Oh, absolutely.
Squirrel with a Gun did, despite from what I hear not being very good. Or you could. I hate to say like these are the lucky ones, but the ones that get picked up by like a company like Xbox or Game Pass, be like, hey, we'll give you a fat chunk of money if you want to put your game on our service.
It's why I like that. Why I continue to like the publishing companies of like Devolver, or even looking at like Big Mode with like Donkey or whatever. It's like, yeah, his only game so far he's done is Animal Well, but it's like I feel like that was the perfect game to show off exactly what he wants to do with Big Mode, basically, and like the types of games that he wants to support going forward. So I was just like, if these are the type of games that you're going to publish, under your publishing label, I'm all for it, baby. Let's go. Because it's like, if it means that these really cool creative games get shown off in a bigger spotlight, then yeah, absolutely.
Like everybody laughed at Donkey being like, I'm only gonna publish good games, and everyone was like, that's not how it works. And then Animal Quell comes out and it's like a really, really good game, and it's like, I guess he was telling the truth then.
It's one of those things where I don't think that because, Donkey's whole YouTube is, comedy and everything like that. He makes fun. Oftentimes he just makes fun of like the AAA games or anything like that. But in essence, it's just like he knows what makes a game good. It's crazy to me to think that gamers can't seem to figure out that people who have played games for as long as like a guy like Donkey has, for as long as I've played games for as long as I have, or whatever, you even, in fact, it's like we know what makes a good game and what can cause red flags, even just looking at like trailers and stuff like that. It's like I look at a trailer and it's like there was no gameplay. That's a big no-no in my mind. You ever feel like that when you see a trailer and you go, if I don't see any like gameplay, it's like I instantly turn off from it. That's a huge red flag in my mind. If it's all cinematics, if it's a little teaser, sure, I guess it's fine. And in the end, it doesn't tell you anything about the game in and of itself. It's like the main thing is you got to see gameplay or whatever, or if they're and it's also like how a game is talked about when it comes to developer wise or whatever, when the developers or the publishers are talking about the game. I was just like, if they're talking more about in-game shops or DLCs even before the game comes out, it can mean red flags. It most of the time does mean red flags. So it was just like, I don't know. It's just like I don't feel like Donkey gets enough credit because he oftentimes gets, it's all comedy and everything like that with him. But it's like, but he's making fun of games that are bad.
Well, at the same time, I think a lot of people just have that stigma of YouTubers creating products because obviously, you have stuff like Prime and Feastables that just aren't good. And a lot of times people just think, what do these YouTubers know about doing anything, basically? They're not, in the business of doing stuff like this, so why are they attempting that? and Donkey just kind of had to. He kind of had to.
It was a bar that he needed to get over, right? Like, and I feel like Animal Well was like.
He had to beat that stereotype. That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, it was just like you beat the stereotype. You had to show that, I actually do know what I'm talking about, even though I do sound like I'm a buffoon in my YouTube videos because I'm putting on a personality type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I do know what I'm talking about. I don't know, and it feels like a lot of like the big publishers or whatever. It's like they don't fucking play video games. They're here to make the money. They're not here to make good games. They just want the money bags in the end. It's like for Donkey, I feel like it's the exact opposite. Like, yes, the money is good and obviously it's what keeps him afloat, but it's not the main reason he's doing it,
Yeah. Well, I'm not even sure, like, so I think Donkey would be just fine even if he wasn't doing this. Like, he still has a widely popular YouTube channel, so he's doing this kind of in a sake where it's like, I'm sure the money is good. I'm sure he's making money off of Animal Well, but at the exact same time, it's like he's doing this because he has the opportunity to do something positive for the industry that he cares about.
Yeah, it's something that he cares about, that he's passionate about, that he sees that things kind of going the opposite way, and he's showing that it doesn't need to be like that, That's how I look at it. It's just like you said, it's like he doesn't need to do this or whatever, but he's passionate about it, so he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And I say all for it.
100%.
I'd be curious to know if, like, obviously as more games are published by Big Mode, it's like, will other creators or anything like that maybe try and jump on that to build either more publishing things that are less like that? And I think that it's like, depends, right?
Well, it's definitely possible. It mainly has to come down to whether they're... Because whether or not they're going to succeed is whether or not they're actually dedicated to doing something like that, right?
Exactly. That's what I was more getting at. It's like people will see this because it's great and gaining popularity and everything like that, and they'll do it just because it's the cool thing to do. Where there will be some creators that will do this just because they see that Donkey has shown that it is viable, that there are people that are making games that are really cool and interesting that aren't getting the spotlight that they deserve. And it's like, and I could also do that while also making a good chunk of money as well. Yeah. But yeah, there will be people that will be in it just for the money. And
there's going to be a lot of people that I think are going to learn the wrong lessons and just go on the YouTube channel being like, I made my own video game company.
Yep.
Like some big hype trailer for a game that ends up being trash.
Yep, absolutely.
And immediately pulls out.
See, and like you said, it's like that was the kind of like the stigma that Donkey had to beat, and I feel like, I don't know, I guess I've watched Donkey for so many years. I was just like, I was unsure of whether or not he was going to either, but I also just like saw his reviews, and it's just like he wasn't wrong a lot of times, I thought.
Yeah, I think all of us like collectively had some sort of doubt on whether or not Donkey was going to be able to pull this off, but in the end he was able to beat that stereotype, and he proved that he did know what he was doing. Because a lot of people can just come out and be like, hey, I've played tons of games, I'm going to create a publishing company and it's only going to bring out good games. It's like, okay buddy, sure. The fact that he was actually able to do that, though, is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I'll be super excited for see what comes after, even though I haven't really played Animal Well. I want to, but I have not yet. A lot of games I haven't played. You ever find that as you get older, it's like you want to play video games, but you're just like, you just don't really have that motivation to do it.
Motivation and time is a big one.
Yeah.
It's usually when I have some sort of...
It's definitely more of the time, I feel like, sometimes for me.
That's the big thing that I run into. It's like, whenever I feel like playing a video game, it's like I want to set aside at least a couple hours to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I just don't have that period of time where I can do that, or if I do have that time, I'd rather do something else, like make myself like a nice meal as opposed to, just ordering something online or whatever.
Or maybe you see Billy put out, it's like, hey, anyone want to go disc golfing? And you're like, hell yeah, a round of disc golf? That sounds fun.
Yeah.
It's something to like. And to me, it's like, also, it's like Saturdays are like my, like, one day off, basically, throughout the week. And so it's just like, I'm not going to start this, like, big, like, I'm not going to start, like, Rebirth or whatever, and I'm just going to, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to play it for another week, basically. It's like, I don't want to do that. I'll forget where I'm at in a week, but some people can do it. I don't know. For me, it's like, I played like the intro to Rebirth. It was really good, and then I just have never gone back because I'm just like, I don't remember what happened. I honestly don't even remember how to play. Did that with so many Assassin's Creed games growing up or whatever. I play like halfway through the game and I went, shit, I don't remember how to play this game again. I'll just play from the beginning. I'll be fine.
Oh man. That must have been so frustrating. Usually when I started an Assassin's Creed game, I'd liked to try beating it, but I'm like you. I would sometimes just drop off so hard of a video game, and you just come back and you're so fucking lost as to where you were.
Me, every time I tried to play Skyrim for, like, every other time, feels like. Like, to this day, I've never actually beaten the story of Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like, every time I've, like, started a playthrough or whatever, like, I'll play it for, like, a week. And I'll get, decently far into it or whatever, and then you just quit, and you're like, all right, 2 weeks go by, and I go, shit, how do you play this game? What was I doing? What the hell is my inventory? I don't remember a damn thing. I'm just going to restart.
Have you ever beaten Assassin's Creed 2?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I beat every Assassin's Creed up to Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yep, and then I was like, I think it was Black Flag after that. I just didn't like. Black Flag is regarded as one of the better Assassin's Creeds. I feel like
it's probably the best one. In my opinion,
I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. Oh. I think I just didn't like the ship combat or whatever. I was just like, I don't give a fuck.
Well, it's even worse in Skull and Bones.
Yeah, let me just play Skull and Bones real fast. Quad A game right there.
Didn't they drop the price of that to like $40?
Why is it not free?
I don't know. Nope, it's still 60. Oh well.
Yeah. Was it on sale recently for 40? Is that what you were thinking maybe?
No, I thought they legit just dropped the price because no one was buying it.
That's fair. I feel like Ubisoft will just take the L on that and then move on to whatever they decide to do next.
Yeah, probably. The game flopped just so spectacularly because the gameplay loop is so shit. Oh my god.
Did I see earlier also, since we were talking to Ubisoft, that apparently X-Defiant is apparently still going strong according to the director of the game?
I did not hear about that, no.
I saw a little something about that. I'm going to see if I can find it again. But
I mean that's good. X-Defiant was fine from what I played. Decent COD competitor. I think I was thinking of Sea of Thieves because that's $40.
Maybe.
And is a much better game than Skull and Bones.
Oh, here it is. It's like see, X-Defiant boss rejects claim that Ubisoft shooter is struggling to find players. I haven't read this. That was just the headline. I was just like, I was curious. I was gonna skim this and I just forgot.
I mean, that's good.
I feel like it's just one of those games where it's just like you would think that it would probably have way more players than you would think, considering it's an FPS type thing. But then you remind yourself that Call of Duty exists, and you go, "Oh yeah, many people will just go for that," even though it's
there's just a lot of competition in the FPS space in general nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like games like Valorant and everything like that are also going to drive a lot of people to it.
I'm not sure about that. The two gameplay types are way too different.
It's a shooter. It's like a sweaty shooter type thing. So I'm with you.
I-
I'm with you on that. But looking at this thing, they were just talking about comparing it to
Yeah.
Valorant here, which I'm like, that's not a really great comparison. But they were
It's
just
a-
talking about it from like their tracking success is the Twitch tracker, which is concurrent viewers.
I mean, I guess so. With Valorant, it's like it's always just been like a direct competitor to CS:GO, which is
Yeah.
fine. Comparing like a mainstream shooter like COD or something like that to Valorant just seems so bizarre since the games just function so differently.
Apparently, Ubisoft has a recent offer for $9 worth of in-game currency for people playing X Defiant. Interesting.
Okay.
Never heard of that.
I played X Defiant for a little while. Unlocked a couple weapons. I mean, it's a fun video game. There's nothing like egregiously bad about it, but
Just nothing that's really stands out, and I feel like that's the main issue.
yeah. Like, it's a COD competitor with Ubisoft IPs connected to it, and that's really all it is. It's not really much more you can do in that game. Much more to that game at all.
Yeah. It's like I feel like people like track success when it comes to like games like X Defiant, where it's just like, oh, everyone's talking about it, everyone's constantly like saying how good of a game it is, type thing, and I go, no, it's more of going to be like kind of what I always feel like For Honor went with it. It was like it is a fighting game, so it's like it's going to find its own crowd basically, and it's going to sit in its little niche, and you get a few players here or there that are discovering the game, and maybe some updates will get some resurgence or whatever, and people playing it and going like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good now, type thing. But if we're saying like, oh, this is the direct competitor to Call of Duty, I'm like, you're just nuts.
You're setting yourself up for failure there.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure even if it does have a decent player base, that it's just going to tank once COD 6 comes out. Or Black Ops 6.
Yeah. It's like when the next Call of Duty comes out, it's like it will definitely take hits during that time. It's like what did I see that there was like some EA investor thing or whatever, and they were talking about how like the next Battlefield or whatever as well. It's like oh, that's kind of interesting, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We know nothing about the next Battlefield, but we know they're making another Battlefield, I guess.
Yep. Apparently they're dropping specialists from what I saw from the report or whatever the hell that means.
Well, that's because everybody complained about the specialist system in 2042. I heard that game was okay after a couple updates or whatever, but they dropped the ball really hard with Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, I mean that was like one of the games that was like I mean it had like a bunch of server issues and other things like that, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember anything exactly past that.
Just a multitude of bugs, glitches. The maps I hear were too big and terribly designed. The specialist system was bullshit. It was rife with microtransactions. And a lot of stuff just didn't work on release. And if you know anything about a game, and even especially multiplayer focused games, the biggest crowd that you're going to get for any game is on release day. So you really got to land that first impression. Otherwise, making a comeback is just so difficult.
Yep. Not impossible, just difficult.
Games like Halo and now Battlefield 2042 learned that the hard way.
Yes, they did. Yeah. I would even argue that For Honor also learned that the hard way too. It's like, well, that's, survived or whatever. It's just like I think about what that game could have been if it had launched in a much better state than it had or whatever, and maybe been more upfront that this is not the big medieval game that you all think. This is a fighter game.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like it could have done a lot better, but they didn't quite make that, the most prevalent. So yeah, it's honestly where I think X Defiant will probably land. Is like it'll hit its niche and exist in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to think that it's like, oh, it's like Ubisoft with like shooters or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, Rainbow Six still exists.
You know?
How long that's going to continue to be true is up for debate. But yeah,
Yeah,
they still
that's
have
true.
Rainbows. They still have Rainbow Six. I mean, I'm just saying, if you've been paying attention to the updates with that game, they have not been very good or positive.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I feel like as the years have kind of gone on, people have just
Mm.
slowly weaned off that game. Like, you'd hear constantly stuff about it, and I was like, last time I've heard anything about Rainbow Six,
Mm.
2017, something like that. That was the last time I heard anything about that.
It's whatever. I think, I don't know. People rag on Ubisoft a lot. I think they're going to be fine.
Oh yeah, probably.
Speaking of live service games that got shut down or are doing well. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Splatoon had its final fest this past weekend of
yeah?
recording. And
Playing
despite
it? Just playing it?
I did.
Nice.
I played about 3 hours of it because I work on weekends and have no time to play Splatoon.
That's fair.
So I usually don't have time to participate in Splatfest, but I wanted to make time because it's crazy how much leverage that game got with no microtransactions, basically. How they kept having like big like additions and events and shit like that. And if you saw any footage from the final fest they put out, they created like this big music festival venue map and did all this work. I'll show you a video of it later, but it was really cool. And like the other Splatoon games, I have no doubt that the results of this last Splatfest are going to contribute to the story of Splatoon 4 whenever the Switch 2 comes out and that exists. It's probably in the next 3 to 5 years, if I were to guess.
Yeah, it might be.
When do you think we're going to get our Switch 2?
Man, who knows? That shit could come tomorrow. Or it could be like another like 5 years.
Do we still think it's getting announced this year?
Probably not.
Uh,
I don't know. I mean,
When did-
it's really one of those things where it's just like Nintendo is on their own clock, and they there's no heads up for anything or whatever. Like they'll just like say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna show off this stuff in Nintendo Direct or whatever," and then just go, "Tune in tomorrow in like less than 12 hours or something like that from when you see this thing," and you go, "Oh shit, there was a thingy or whatever about it," and then they go, "Oh yeah, and now here's the Switch 2. It'll be $400 or some shit, and then it'll be available tomorrow," and you go, "What?"
I mean, next year the Switch is going to be 8 years old. You think that's enough time between console generations?
It really depends on if like are people, or maybe more specifically are Nintendo, developing games with the Switch 2 in mind. Like, are they going to make games specifically for this new Switch or whatever the hell it is type thing, and how far they are along in those projects or whatever. It's like if they're going to launch it, they're probably going to launch it with like either a Mario or a Zelda, like they did with the Switch all the way back in 2016. It's like I think we talked about last week. It's like the Switch launched with 2 games, 1-2 Switch and Breath of the Wild, and it was enough to get people to buy a Switch.
So they just need one big exclusive that they can release on the Switch 2 or whatever.
Yep, that's why I
Probably
say it's
another
either like
Zelda.
a Mario Kart, or like a new Zelda game or something like that. But considering that there is a Zelda game coming out fairly soon, we'll see about that.
I mean, that's a different type of Zelda
yeah,
game.
it's a different type of Zelda game. You're right, but yeah, who knows? Like I said, it depends on how far they are along on those things. Do we think that the first game with the Switch 2 will be Mario Kart 9?
No.
Probably
I'm
right.
I'm not sure we're ever going to get a Mario Kart 9, if we're being honest.
That wouldn't Probably not for the Switch, but maybe for Switch 2.
Maybe. The base of Mario Kart 8 just works so well, though, and I don't see why they would need to diverge from that. I mean, they didn't see the point when it came to the Switch. They just released the Wii U's racing game.
That is true. That is true. And it continues to be on like their top 10 like sellers or whatever. So it's like, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I mean, that's where I'm at, anyways. Do you think we're gonna ever get another Smash Brothers game when the Switch 2 comes out?
Probably not, honestly.
You don't think so?
The only reason I say that is because of Miyazaki or whatever. That was his name, right? Or
Yeah.
no, Sakurai.
Sakurai,
Miyazaki.
yeah.
I'm thinking like that's
Mario.
that's the Dark Souls guy or whatever Miyazaki, isn't it? Sounds right. But yeah, Sakurai.
Oh yeah, that's Miyazaki. I was thinking of Miyamoto, the Mario guy. Keep going, Sakurai.
Yeah. No, Sakurai is not. It doesn't sound like he's going to be doing it. And I was like, and I feel like that. I mean, yeah, he's obviously he's retired. It's like, I think right there and then, I think a lot of people, and Nintendo even will specifically look at that and go, I mean, if we can't get Sakurai, it's like, is it even worth doing?
They're gonna find someone else. It sucks, and I think a lot of people are like, well, if it's not Sakurai, or we're just not gonna buy it. That's not how the general consumer thinks.
That's true.
It's Smash. It's one of the biggest franchises on the planet, and it's one of Nintendo's consistently most profitable franchises. They're gonna make another one.
See, the thing is, for as long as like Smash Brothers Ultimate will be viable, like because obviously the reports are that Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with the Switch games.
Yeah.
Why make a new Smash game if they can already play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2?
Fair enough. For the same reason they would make a Mario Kart 9.
Yeah,
money.
That's fair. It is fair. I think it's just like if they decide they want to do that, they need to find somebody that had as much drive to make the game interesting and fun as Sakurai did, and that's
There's enough people like that at Nintendo.
There are, but I feel like also it can be challenging because not only you can be convinced of that as a company or whatever, like Nintendo could, but it's like you need to convince the players as well. I feel like for the older players, I think specifically.
I think the majority don't give a shit. I'm sorry. I'm just being real here. I think a lot of the audience for Smash Brothers is just going to be excited for another Smash Brothers, no matter who the game director is.
Well, and I always feel like, yeah, and those will drive the sales, right? But it's like, but for the people who I feel like consistently play and continue to play, and if there is a esports scene going forward in that game, considering that Nintendo seems to kill the Smash community on the esports scene in every way, shape, or form they ever could. But and that's also another reason why I don't think it'll ever happen, because they don't want it to be a thing. It feels like it's like they want you to not be sweaty about it, play it casually, and then move on.
They don't want another Smash Brothers to be
They don't want people to play it competitively. They want it to be a casual experience, and so that even if it means sacrificing,
I don't know.
To me, that's what it feels like.
I don't know if that's true. Smash Ultimate caters purely to the competitive crowd. I don't think it appeals to the casual player at all.
And this is where I say that Sakurai's like motivation kind of comes out. It's like he wanted it to be like a competitive but yet fun thing for both hardcore and casual players. But it feels like Nintendo wants it to be on the more casual side. To me, I mean, I can get down with that. 100%. Shutting down any and all esports, basically, when it comes to anything Smash, feels that that's the direction they want to take it. So, maybe
okay.
It's two clashing philosophies, I feel like. For Nintendo, it's just like, oh, they're all about like, oh, family kind of fun, play the game type thing, have your fun, give us your money type thing, and then move on to whatever we're doing next. And but we want to play this competitively. We want to make a the fighting circuit or whatever for Smash. And it was like, you want to do what now?
Okay.
No, just kill that. We don't want that.
I'm sorry. I have a hard time believing Nintendo would deny themselves a huge moneymaker like Smash Brothers just because they don't like the idea of a competitive scene popping up. Like that doesn't make sense. I don't get where you're coming from at all with that.
I mean, the only reason I say that is because of all like the years of just like like shutting down just like Smash events, and everything like that.
Well, that's because Nintendo can't make any money off that. That's just Nintendo being Nintendo. They did the same thing with making Nintendo themed YouTube content.
To me, and yes, I think that's the main reason of it. But to me, I also look at it going like they don't want their brand of game looked at as kind of like this hardcore sort of thing. They want all their games to feel inviting and family friendly.
Okay, and that's fair enough. I mean, you look back at Brawl. That game was super unbalanced, and everybody complained about that. But it was also super successful, and it made tons of money.
Yeah, but the thing is, you'll look at that and you'll say, no one really played that competitively. Again, this is where
it still did super well, though.
I know. Yeah, no, you're not like here's. I'm not saying it won't sell because it like they won't want a competitive scene or anything like that.
Okay, maybe I'm just struggling. Maybe explain it to me again. I'm trying to. Maybe I'm struggling to understand what your point is here.
It's that I'm not saying it won't sell because there is a that Nintendo doesn't want the competitive scene. It will, and people will try and play it competitively, and then it will be up to Nintendo if they want to make their own esports thing or whatever. Like they said they wanted to do it 1,000 times over and never done so. Mm-hmm. And then but then it has to be like. To me, it feels like
who's gonna balance that if it's not gonna be Sakurai? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. Is that will it see long-term play basically? Like will it be like because it's like when was the last time you played Smash? For me it's been years at this point.
Long ass time ago. I'm not gonna get into it, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, I was like the only reason I even had the Switch Online service was when David would do like his like Smash streams or whatever, and just we'd play against him or whatever. That would be the only reason I ever had it. And I was like, I canceled it because it was like we stopped doing that and everything like that. And it's just like, to me, it's like Sakurai wanted to make this fun Nintendo type game or whatever. And again, it will sell, okay? And you're absolutely right. The game will sell, regardless of whether or not there is a competitive scene or not. But I think that was partially the reason. But when I look at it, when Sakurai wanted to do it, is that he wanted to create a experience that was fun for the casual player, but could also have a more hardcore-esque feel to it, and as well, like players that wanted to go all in, learn the finesse of the game and everything like that, learn each individual character and how different they are from one to another. That is where some people will probably skip it because of that. Majority of the people will still go for it. And it'll be one of those things where people play it, they'll have fun with it, and then they'll move on. But when it comes to long term, will it exist? Maybe.
Maybe. So, here's what I'm thinking. If Nintendo really ever does, get their heads out of their own asses in terms of their competitive scene, and let's say they do make another Smash and it is super unbalanced, and people say, well, we want to play this competitively, but we can't play it competitively. Why couldn't they just be, since the Switch 2 is going to be compatible with all Switch games, just be like, okay, our competitive Smash games are going to be Ultimate and Melee.
Which is basically already is.
I mean, I think they'd be fine getting away with that. It's like, sure, it's not like the newest Smash or whatever, but people, when it came to competitive Smash, it's like you said, nobody played Smash Brawl, competitively at all, and that game still did super well. Same thing basically with the Wii U game. No one really played that game competitively. The competitive scene only really latched on to Smash Ultimate because that game did so much to cater to them, and there was that room to create a competitive scene within Smash Ultimate. So it's like it'd be ridiculously easy of Nintendo to just be like, oh yeah, we're gonna make Smash Brothers, and if they don't want to support it, it's like, fine, then just don't.
Yeah, they won't.
I-
And that's the thing is like you're absolutely right. It's like they don't need to support it. Why? Because people will buy it regardless. But
Mhm.
yeah, and like it will sell well. It will sell well
Yeah.
because of that. But at the same time, it's like will people play it for years going forward? Probably not. But Nintendo
No.
doesn't care about that. If they cared about longevity of a game and like people continuing to play it for it, they would have made an esports scene for Ultimate long ago that they could have a full control over, make money off it type thing. But they just choose not to because it feels like they just don't care to have that hardcore scene. That's really what I'm trying to get at.
I think that's fair. I think a big motivator for Nintendo is money. Nintendo is a company that's always liked really having a stranglehold on all their IPs. If they're not in direct control of what's happening with one of their game's IPs, they don't want any part of it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened with the esports scene.
I mean, there's esports games, like an esports scene that could happen with basically a bunch of Nintendo franchises. They could have an esports scene for Mario Kart. They could have one for Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
That community creates their own esports scene, which I think is super funny. But
yeah, because they know Nintendo's not going to do it.
yeah, and they also have shit like Nintendo does shit like Splatfest, I guess, which kind of counts, but not really. But
It's more of like a celebratory event. I feel like where it's like
kind of, yeah.
it's
I'm
kind
not going
of
to
like
get into
how,
the problems that Splatfest have also, but
I look
they
at
have
Splatfest kind
problems.
of like how like Blizzard does BlizzCon or whatever. It's like yes, they have like some of their world championships for some of their games or whatever. Like I know they used to host like the Hearthstone World Championship there during BlizzCon, but like it's more for like let's just show off. I mean, obviously it's to show off what's coming next for Blizzard games, but it's also just like let's also celebrate the games that we like type thing.
it's mainly to keep like player engagement. It's like what Dead by Daylight does with Lights Out or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine. But in terms of like a competitive scene, I think Nintendo doesn't really want to touch it because they know they can't really directly control it or make money off of it. So it's like, why would we put this investment to something where we really gauge no benefit?
They see it as an unnecessary risk in my mind. It's just like, why do we want to
Yeah,
risk? Why do we want to risk our skins on a competitive scene that may or may not work out type thing when we just we make a bunch of money off of the game, regardless. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's let other people do it. No. But it's our thing, so we want direct control of it.
That's just Nintendo, though. They don't like have other people having control over their IPs like that.
And that's the problem with it. Is like it's just like, okay, we get it, Nintendo. You don't want to make a competitive scene, but there are tons of players that do want a competitive scene when it comes to this game. They just don't seem to care.
No.
And that's the upsetting part. It's just so much. And it's just like, it's crazy to think that it's just like, out of all the, like, when you look at it, majority of other games or whatever, it's like people want people to play more often. Like, even if they're not, sanctioned directly through whatever, like, they just want people playing it or whatever. So, like, they have no problem with people making their own tournaments or whatever. As long as that's it. I feel like there's very few exceptions to that. But
Yeah.
unless you're Nintendo,
That's just it.
that's just life.
I mean, and it sucks to say because I get people's sentiments being like, well, it's not going to be the same without Sakurai. I'm sorry, with a lot of Nintendo franchises, the original creators, they're not working on every single game in that franchise.
Oh yeah.
It's like eventually Miyamoto is not going to be able to work on Mario games. That doesn't mean Nintendo is going to stop making games in the Mario franchise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's absolutely no way. There's I don't think the original creator of Legend of Zelda is still making Legend of Zelda stuff. I don't think the original creator of Pokemon is still working on that franchise, and yet that's still going and making tens of billions of dollars. I get it's a sentimental thing with not wanting the original wanting the original game creator to work on the video game. For Nintendo, with how profitable those IPs are and how broad their appeal is, it's like these franchises are going to go with or without these people.
Yep.
Sorry, not sorry.
It's
That's
just a nostalgia.
just-
It's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
It's really all it is. It's like it'll be like the day that like Tetsuya Nomura decides that he's not going to do Kingdom Hearts games anymore. And it's just like, or like Final Fantasy games. It's just like, it's gonna suck, but it's not like Final Fantasy's going anywhere.
No.
Despite the name of Final.
The Halo franchise, for better or worse, continued without its original creators.
That's true. Better or worse, indeed.
No, it's worse, very much worse.
Yeah, definitely more the latter than the before.
Yeah. I mean, looking at modern Bungie, I'm guessing Destiny didn't do wonders for them either, but God knows.
Yep, that's why it's just like, again, not to be the old man podcast here, but it was just like, like, you sit here going just like, when you see younger kids, like, I was like, oh, enjoying Pokemon or whatever, and it's like, we're still sitting here going just like, man, Pokemon Yellow was the best. And it's like, bro, that was the first game. Like, sometimes take off the nostalgia glasses and move past it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm not saying like the first gens are bad. It's just that there's such rose tinted glasses that are in front of them that you're just like,
There are games that are better than those games. I'm sorry, dude. We've got to move on at some point.
gotta move on. You just gotta. It's like, if the games are still good or whatever, then that's all that really matters.
Like, I get, like, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, all these games. They were really good. I enjoyed them when they came out.
Yeah.
I still remember playing Pokemon Red on my OG GBA. More Pokemon games have come out, and they've all been good. They can't keep making the exact same game forever.
Although Nintendo tries. They try a lot.
Yeah, no. And they sometimes get away with it.
Yep.
I'm going to give Nintendo some credit with this last gen especially. It's like Mario, I'm not sure if Mario Wonder, but Mario Odyssey was different from pretty much every other Mario game that came out. That game really didn't share any similarities with any 3D Mario that I can think of.
That's true.
Same thing with Breath of the Wild. That was a big divergence from usual Zelda stuff, and it worked out fabulously for that franchise.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Even Tears of the Kingdom did things differently than Breath of the Wild did.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's always like the thing that whenever like a game series like Zelda do these changes or whatever, like, it's just like, I want, it's like, Breath of the Wild was cool and all like that, but can we get like like an actual Zelda game now? And it's like, but that is an actual Zelda game. It's like, just because you don't recognize it as an actual Zelda game doesn't mean it's not.
Yeah.
It's like,
Sorry, not sorry. Not every Zelda game is gonna play like Ocarina of Time.
it's why
Shocker.
It's the age old thing is when it comes to game development and everything like that, and like players always say it's like, oh, we want that new fresh stuff or whatever, but then they try the new fresh stuff and then you go, nah, go back to the old stuff, we love the old stuff. And it's like, but you just said you wanted new, now you're saying you want old. What do you want, motherfuckers?
I don't know.
That's really how it's like. There's just no winning.
No.
So you just you play with what you got, and if you think what you got is good, you go with it.
If you're one of those guys that just wants to play the same game over and over, guess what? Pokemon Heart Gold still exists. Ocarina of Time is still right there. You can play it whenever you want to.
Yep. It was like when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out or whatever. People talking about how it's like, oh, I ruined Final Fantasy VII. Hey, guess what? You can still play the original Final Fantasy VII.
It's right there, and you can play it
Exactly.
right now. It's on every platform known to man.
It's like I hear all the time whenever a game is being remade or anything like that. It's like, oh, this shit, they ruined it and everything like that. And I'm like, well, you can still play the original. You don't have to play the new shit. It's like, oh, they got rid of the turn-based stuff in 7 for the more actiony style. I don't like the action style. I'm sorry, this is just what Final Fantasy has become.
Yeah, it's what Square likes, so they're going to keep doing that.
And they do it well.
Yeah.
As like, I feel like Final Fantasy 15 was that jump-off point where they wanted to try doing an action game, but they weren't sure how difficult they wanted to make it. Because 15, in essence, is an action gameplay, but it's so easy compared to what you would think like a fast-paced action game should be. So it's like it is and isn't. It was like Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Those were the main jumping points. It's like, okay, we got our feet wet with Final Fantasy 15. Let's go full man mode now. And they did, and it's really good.
Dude, I actually really liked Final Fantasy 15. I get a lot of people didn't like it for whatever reason, but
good.
yeah,
It was for the exact reason I just said. It's like the game. It was the first divergence away from turn-based combat, basically, and because of that, it's like you weren't making a Final Fantasy game in their mind, right? That's why. What was it when Final Fantasy 16 was coming out? It's like, this is like the furthest thing from Final Fantasy I've ever seen. I'm like, bro, this is the most Final Fantasy game I've ever fucking played in my goddamn life. The most ridiculous bullshit I have ever seen. The beginning in the demo, you see a Dragoon literally standing on a spire jumping down at you. I'm like, I've never seen anything more Final Fantasy in my life. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's like it's just old people. It's just like old gamers stuck in the past. It's like, move on.
Well, it's not fucking turn-based, and it's like, okay, cool. They're never going back to that.
Yep,
Sorry,
never going
not
back to
sorry.
that. So have fun playing your Final Fantasy VII for forever, and never experiencing anything else cool, because it's really good stuff. It's like
You don't want to broaden your horizons even a little bit.
yeah, it's like Final
Good for
Fantasy
you, dude.
15's like in essence, it's like the gameplay is like the fighting is like okay, and everything like that. Like it wasn't crazy or anything like that. It wasn't crazy difficult, but it was good enough to where you were just like, okay, you weren't sick of the combat over and over. And then the story and voice acting was so good. That's where it shined in my mind. It's like yeah, it's just and I thought just like the characters in and of itself were amazing. Not even just like the main like 4 or whatever with like Noctis, Ignis, Prompto, and Gladio. It was like you also had one of the best villains in my mind when it comes to just their overall character in Arden. Chef's kiss. That's all I have to say. I don't know. It just comes down to it's like it only furthers my point that people don't like the mastermindy villains. They like the big flashy villains that end up, they're overpowering, they're menacing type thing. They're the big threat and clearly are the big threat. Whereas Arden, he kind of just plays on the sidelines until towards the end of the game, and then you go, "Oh, it was you all along. You helped me through all these other things and everything like that. You son of a bitch." That's how I look at it. It's like why people don't like Kingdom Hearts. I feel like it was just like, oh, but why did Xehanort take so long to do his thing? It's like it's the long play. It's the whole mastermind or whatever. What's the master's doing? Who the fuck knows? Because guess what? Nobody's got any damn clue. It's like only Nomura has any idea of what the fuck is going on at this point, because we're all just kind of here for the ride.
Yeah. Well, do you want to call it? We're almost at 2 hours here.
Fuck me, we are. Jesus Christ. Yeah, why not? Well, thank y'all so much for listening to the ramblings of this, as I feel like I say every week.
Yeah. That's what the podcast is all about, baby.
I feel like we should have should we rename it to the ramblings of this?
Is that not already a podcast that exists?
I'm gonna do a preliminary Google search, and then what did I say? The ramblings of this.
Yeah.
There's the Rambling podcast.
And there's a Ramblings podcast.
So the ramblings of this is open, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
We definitely won't get copyright for that at all if there's any success in it. But there probably won't be. But anyway, I mean, anyone that wants to, is free to try that name, because I think it's a phenomenal name for a podcast. Yeah. But this is It Never Ends, and like today, it never does end. But unfortunately, this is actually the end. So, I guess we're not living up to the branding. But here we are. Anyway, be sure to follow the podcast, follow my co-hosts. The links are all below and everything like that. Go do that. Go tell a friend. And we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.